In the hidden corridors of ancient Jewish wisdom, there exists a knowledge so potent that rabbis for centuries have whispered it only to their most trusted students, a sacred understanding about the spiritual power embedded in the act of giving and receiving gifts. What you place in someone's hands carries more than material value. It carries frequency, intention, and invisible consequences that can either open the floodgates of divine blessing or seal them shut for years. Tonight, I am about to reveal what a millionaire rabbi taught me about 6 specific items that should never be given as gifts, because each one carries a spiritual curse of poverty that most people unknowingly activate every single day. Before we step into this forbidden territory together, I need you to make a declaration of readiness. Subscribe to Jewish Wisdom right now, because what I am about to share has been protected knowledge, and your subscription is your signal to the universe that you are ready to handle ancient secrets with the respect and application they demand. Write these words in the comments and mean them. I receive only blessings. I give only abundance. Let this be your spiritual boundary, your decree that, from this moment forward, you will be conscious of the invisible currents you set in motion through every gift you give or accept. I learned this teaching in the most unexpected way. I was invited to the home of Rabbi Yitzhak Goldstein in New York, a man whose wealth was legendary in certain circles, but whose face was unknown to the public. He had built an empire through real estate, banking, and investments. Yet he lived modestly and gave away more than half his income every year to orphanages, Torah schools, and families in crisis. People whispered that he possessed a secret, some ancient formula that made everything he touched turn to gold. I went to his home expecting to learn about business strategy or investment wisdom. Instead, he taught me about gifts. We sat in his study, surrounded by ancient texts, and he said something that confused me at first. The quickest way to destroy someone financially is to give them the wrong gift, and the quickest way to curse yourself is to give a gift that heaven has forbidden. I asked him to explain. He smiled and said, "In the Torah, in the Talmud, in the mystical teachings of Kabbalah, there are laws about spiritual transference. When you give someone a gift, you are not just transferring an object. You are transferring energy. And certain objects carry frequencies that repel prosperity, block blessing, and attract poverty like a magnet attracts iron." He told me that most people are completely ignorant of these laws, which is why they remain trapped in cycles of financial struggle, despite their hard work and good intentions. They unknowingly give and receive poverty-attracting gifts, and then they wonder why money seems to flow away from them no matter how much they earn. He said, "Show me what gifts a person gives and receives, and I will tell you their financial future with frightening accuracy." Over the next 3 hours, Rabbi Goldstein taught me about 6 specific items that should never be given as gifts, according to ancient Jewish wisdom. He explained the spiritual reason behind each prohibition, the biblical and Kabbalistic sources, and the real-life stories of people whose finances collapsed after giving or receiving these items. He made me promise that if I shared this knowledge, I would share it completely, not just the prohibitions, but the spiritual mechanics behind them, so people would understand why these rules exist. What you are about to learn is not superstition. This is spiritual law, as real and reliable as the law of gravity. You cannot see gravity, but you trust it operates every moment of every day. Similarly, you cannot see the spiritual frequencies carried by objects, but they operate constantly, shaping your financial reality in ways your conscious mind never perceives. The question is not whether these laws exist. The question is whether you will align with them or continue violating them in ignorance. Rabbi Goldstein told me, "The sages teach that there are visible laws and invisible laws. Visible laws govern the physical world. If you plant a seed, you get a tree. If you drop a stone, it falls. These are obvious. But invisible laws govern the spiritual world, and most people ignore them because they cannot see immediate consequences. But the consequences are real. They simply operate on a longer timeline. A person receives a forbidden gift at age 25, and by age 35 their finances have mysteriously stagnated. They never connect the two events because 10 years have passed. But in the spiritual realm, cause and effect are linked regardless of the time delay. This is why the knowledge I am about to share is so crucial. You may have already given or received one of these 6 items. You may have unknowingly activated a poverty frequency in your life or in someone else's life. But knowledge brings power. Once you know, you can reverse the curse. Once you understand, you can break the pattern. Once you align with spiritual law, you can redirect the flow of abundance that has been blocked for years. The first thing Rabbi Goldstein told me was this. In Jewish tradition, The act of giving is called tzedakah, which comes from the word tzedek, meaning righteousness or justice. Giving is not charity. It is justice. It is cosmic balance. It is how divine abundance circulates through creation. But here is what most people do not understand. Not all giving creates circulation. Some giving creates blockage. When you give the wrong thing in the wrong way, you do not open channels of blessing. You close them. For both the giver and the receiver. He showed me texts from the Talmud tractate, Bava Metzia, where the rabbis discuss the spiritual implications of certain transactions. He showed me passages from the Zohar, the foundational text of Kabbalah, explaining how objects carry spiritual residue from their makers and their previous owners. He showed me commentaries from medieval rabbis who counseled their communities to avoid specific gifts because entire families had fallen into poverty after receiving them. I left Rabbi Goldstein's home that evening with my mind reeling. Everything I thought I understood about generosity had been challenged. I realized I had given several of the forbidden items as gifts over the years, completely unaware that I was spiritually sabotaging people I cared about. I also realized I had received some of these items, and suddenly my own financial struggles made sense in a way they never had before. But Rabbi Goldstein had given me more than just prohibitions. He had given me the antidote. For each forbidden gift, there is a permitted alternative that carries the opposite frequency: prosperity instead of poverty, blessing instead of curse, opening instead of blockage. And he taught me the Hebrew prayers and rituals that can break the curse if you have already given or received one of these items. This is not just about avoiding mistakes going forward. This is about healing mistakes already made. The first forbidden gift is sharp objects, knives, scissors, letter openers, or any blade that cuts or pierces. Rabbi Goldstein explained. In Jewish mysticism, sharp objects represent severance, separation, the cutting of connection. When you give someone a knife, you are symbolically giving them the tool to cut the relationship. But more than that, you are transferring a frequency of division that will manifest in their finances. Money requires flow, connection, relationship. A person whose life is marked by severed relationships, severed opportunities, severed income streams cannot sustain prosperity. He showed me a passage from the Talmud, Tonit 23a, where the sages discuss how certain objects carry spiritual properties. A knife, they teach, is used to slaughter, to separate life from body, to end what was whole. Even in the temple service, the knife used for sacrifice had to be checked carefully and blessed extensively because its nature was to end, not to create. When you give someone a knife as a gift, you are handing them an instrument of ending. And what ends in their life may be their financial blessing. The Kabbalists go deeper. They teach that every physical object has a spiritual root in the higher worlds. The spiritual root of a blade is Gevurah, strength, judgment, severity, restriction. Gevurah is necessary in creation. It provides boundaries and limits. But when Gevurah is excessive, when it is unbalanced by chest-loving kindness, expansion, flow, it creates blockage. A person who receives a knife as a gift receives an injection of excessive Gevurah into their spiritual system. Their life becomes marked by restriction rather than expansion. Their finances contract rather than grow. Rabbi Goldstein told me a story that haunts me still. A young couple received an expensive set of kitchen knives as a wedding gift from a wealthy uncle. The uncle meant well. The knives were practical, high quality, useful. But within 2 years of the wedding, the couple divorced. Their joint business failed. Both ended up in debt. The rabbi who counseled them asked about gifts they had received. When they mentioned the knives, he immediately understood. He performed a ritual to break the curse, involving burying the knives in the earth and reciting specific psalms. Within 6 months, both individuals had recovered financially, though their marriage was beyond repair. But what if someone has already given me a knife? I asked Rabbi Goldstein. He said, there is a remedy. In Jewish tradition, when you must give a sharp object, the receiver gives a coin in return of a penny. This transforms the transaction from a gift to a purchase, which neutralizes the curse. The coin represents exchange, balance, mutual benefit. It breaks the frequency of severance and replaces it with the frequency of transaction, which is neutral. But most people do not know this, so they give knives freely and wonder why their relationships deteriorate and their finances decline. The second forbidden gift is empty wallets or purses. This seems counterintuitive because wallets and purses are associated with money. But Rabbi Goldstein explained, an empty vessel carries the frequency of emptiness. When you give someone an empty wallet, you are programming their financial container to remain empty. You are establishing a vibration of lack in the very object designed to hold their wealth. This is spiritual sabotage, even when unintentional. He referenced a teaching from the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of Hasidic Judaism, who said that spiritual reality precedes physical reality. What exists in the spiritual realm eventually manifests in the physical realm. When you give an empty wallet, you create a spiritual pattern of financial emptiness. That pattern then works to manifest in the person's actual financial life. They may put money in the wallet, but the underlying frequency is emptiness, so the money does not stay. It flows out as quickly as it flows in. The correction is simple but crucial. Never give a wallet or purse without putting money inside it. Even a single dollar bill transforms the gift from emptiness to abundance. You are programming the container with the frequency of holding money, of being full, of sustaining wealth. Rabbi Goldstein said, "The sages teach that we are not permitted to recite a blessing over an empty cup. Why? Because blessing requires substance. You cannot bless emptiness. Similarly, you cannot bless an empty wallet. But when you place even a small amount inside, you create the condition for blessing. You establish the pattern of fullness that can then multiply." The third forbidden gift is shoes. I was surprised by this one because shoes seem innocuous. Even generous good shoes are expensive and useful. But Rabbi Goldstein explained, shoes are what carry you away. In Jewish tradition, shoes represent departure, leaving, going. There is a ceremony called shaletza, where a widow removes the shoe of her deceased husband's brother if he refuses to marry her and continue the family line. The removing of the shoe symbolizes his walking away from obligation. When you give someone shoes, you are symbolically enabling them to walk away from you, from blessing, from prosperity. He showed me a reference in the Mishnah Yevamot 12:1, discussing the significance of shoes in spiritual transactions. Shoes, the rabbis teach, represent ownership and movement. When Boaz redeemed Ruth, the transaction was sealed by removing a shoe and giving it to another, symbolizing the transfer of rights and the ability to walk in a new direction. When you give shoes as a gift, you are giving someone the ability to walk away from the very blessings you wish for them. Moreover, Rabbi Goldstein explained that in Kabbalistic thought, shoes represent the lowest level of consciousness because they touch the ground, the physical earth, the realm of Malkut kingdom, materiality, the furthest point from divine light. When you give someone shoes, you are anchoring them in the lower consciousness, making it harder for them to ascend to higher levels of prosperity and blessing. You want to lift people up, he said, not give them tools to stay grounded in limitation. The remedy, if shoes must be given, the receiver must give a coin in return. Just like with knives, transforming the gift into a purchase. But better still, is to avoid giving shoes altogether and choose a different gift that carries a prosperity frequency. The fourth forbidden gift is handkerchiefs or tissues. Rabbi Goldstein said, these items are associated with tears, with wiping away sorrow, with grief and loss. In Jewish funerals, mourners are given handkerchiefs because tears are expected. When you give someone a handkerchief as a gift, you are programming their life for sorrow. You are establishing a frequency of loss that will manifest in various forms, including financial loss. He referenced the tradition of sitting Shiva, the 7-day mourning period after a death, where the mourners are given comfort but also where certain objects are forbidden in their presence, objects that could prolong grief or anchor the soul in sorrow. A handkerchief, while necessary in mourning, is not something you give with blessing. It is given with sympathy, which is a different energy entirely. Think about it, Rabbi Goldstein said. Would you want your financial life to be characterized by constant wiping away of tears, by perpetual grief, by the energy of loss? Of course not. Yet people give handkerchiefs, especially embroidered or monogrammed ones, thinking they are elegant gifts. They are elegant curses. The fifth forbidden gift is clocks or watches. This prohibition surprised me more than any other, because timepieces are common gifts, especially for graduations, retirements, and milestones. But Rabbi Goldstein's explanation was chilling. A clock measures time running out. Every tick is a moment closer to ending. In Chinese culture, giving a clock is taboo, because the word for clock sounds like the word for death. Jewish wisdom agrees with this principle, though for different reasons. Time, in Kabbalah, is a limiting factor. God exists outside of time, in the eternal now. But humans are bound by time, and a clock is the physical reminder of that bondage. When you give someone a clock, you are giving them a symbol of limitation, of counting down, of mortality. And mortality is the opposite of blessing, which is about increased multiplication, eternal life force. He showed me a teaching from Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, who wrote that time is the prison of the soul. The soul yearns for eternity, but the body exists in time. A clock makes time visible, tangible, oppressive. When you give someone a clock, you are making them more conscious of limitation and less conscious of possibility. And prosperity requires the consciousness of unlimited possibility. Moreover, Rabbi Goldstein explained that, in the mystical tradition, there is a concept called time binding. Certain objects bind you to a specific frequency of time past, present, or future. A clock binds you to the present that is constantly ending, the now that immediately becomes then. This creates a consciousness of transience, of nothing lasting, of constant loss. And a consciousness of loss cannot attract or sustain abundance. If you must mark time for someone, he said, give them an hourglass, which has different symbolism. The sands can be turned over. The cycle can begin again. There is renewal. But better still, give something that represents timelessness, eternity, continuity. The sixth and final forbidden gift is anything used or secondhand, unless it comes from someone who was exceptionally prosperous and blessed. Rabbi Goldstein was emphatic about this. Objects carry the spiritual residue of their previous owners. If you give someone a used item from a person who struggled financially, you are transferring that struggle. If the previous owner was depressed, anxious, or cursed, that energy has imprinted on the object. Even if you clean it physically, you cannot clean it spiritually without specific rituals. Most people do not know these rituals, so they innocently give used items and inadvertently pass along spiritual contamination. He told me about the Jewish practice of Genisa, where sacred texts that contain the name of God cannot be thrown away but must be buried with honor. This is because the objects carry holiness that must be treated with reverence. The reverse is also true. Objects can carry unholiness, negativity, curse. When you receive a used object, you receive everything attached to it from its previous context. There is an exception, Rabbi Goldstein clarified. If the previous owner was exceptionally blessed, prosperous, and spiritually elevated, then a used item from them carries their blessing. This is why people treasure heirlooms from successful ancestors. The objects carry the ancestors' blessing forward. But a random used item from an unknown source or a struggling source, that is spiritual Russian roulette. You have no idea what you are bringing into your life. Now write this in the comments. I only receive and give gifts of blessing. This is your new standard, your spiritual filter for all future gift giving and receiving. Let this declaration reset your consciousness and protect your prosperity. So what should you give instead? Rabbi Goldstein taught me that the best gifts carry frequencies of growth, sweetness, light, and life. Books, especially sacred texts, or wisdom literature, carry the frequency of knowledge and elevation. Honey or sweet foods carry the frequency of sweetness and blessing. This is why Jewish New Year features apples and honey, to make the year sweet. Candles or lamps carry the frequency of light, illumination, clarity. Living plants carry the frequency of growth, life, renewal. Money itself, given in multiples of 18, the numerical value of chai, meaning life, carries the frequency of vitality and blessing. But here is the key, Rabbi Goldstein said. The gift itself matters, but the intention matters even more. A permitted gift given with resentment or obligation carries negative frequency. A simple gift given with genuine love and blessing carries positive frequency. The Kabbalists teach that Kavan intention is the soul of every action. Your intention when giving determines what spiritual force you activate. Give with blessing, with prayer, with genuine desire for the person's increase, and you activate angels of prosperity. Give with duty, with show, with hidden resentment, and you activate forces of blockage. He taught me a simple blessing to speak when giving any gift. Barakata, Elohinu Milek Halum, Shahashanu Vikimanu, Vihegianu Lazman Hazar. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has granted us life, sustained us, and enabled us to reach this occasion. May this gift carry your blessing to the receiver. May it increase their joy, their prosperity, their connection to you. May no curse attach to it, and may it be a channel of abundant life. Even if you give this blessing silently in your heart, it activates protection and blessing over the gift. If you have already given one of the 6 forbidden gifts, Rabbi Goldstein taught me the remedy. Contact the person if possible and ask them to give you a coin in return, explaining the Jewish tradition. If contact is not possible, give Tistakaturati in the amount of $18 or a multiple thereof, and pray this prayer: Master of the universe, I gave a gift in ignorance. I did not know the spiritual laws I violated. I ask that you break any curse that attached to that gift. Let no harm come to the receiver because of my action. Let your blessing override my mistake. In the merit of this, tzedakah, restore prosperity to both of us. If you have received one of the 6 forbidden gifts, the remedy is similar. Give a coin to the giver if possible, transforming it into a purchase. If not possible, immerse the object in water while reciting Psalm 107, which speaks of God's deliverance from trouble. Then give the object away to someone who understands these laws and knows how to cleanse it, or bury it in the earth. And give tzedakah to break the curse's hold on your finances. Let me tell you about Rebecca. She was a successful attorney, earning well into 6 figures, yet somehow always struggling with money. She could not understand it. She made good income, but unexpected expenses constantly drained her accounts. Medical bills, car repairs, family emergencies. Something always arose to wipe out any savings she managed to accumulate. She came to Rabbi Goldstein in desperation, and he asked her one question: "What gifts have you received in the past 5 years?" Rebecca listed several, and among them was an expensive watch her mother had given her for her birthday 3 years earlier. The watch had belonged to Rebecca's grandmother, who had been chronically poor and bitter about money her entire life. Rebecca wore the watch daily as a tribute to her grandmother's memory. Rabbi Goldstein immediately identified the problem. You are wearing a time-binding device from a woman whose financial consciousness was one of perpetual lack. Every time you check that watch, you are reinforcing your grandmother's poverty frequency in your own life. The watch is beautiful, but it is carrying a curse. Rebecca was offended at first. How could honoring her grandmother's memory be causing financial problems? But Rabbi Goldstein explained, honor does not require wearing curses. You can honor your grandmother's love while releasing her financial struggles. The watch is a physical anchor to her poverty consciousness. Every glance at it subconsciously programs you with her beliefs about money, that it is scarce, hard to get, impossible to keep. Rebecca agreed to follow Rabbi Goldstein's instructions. She removed the watch, placed it in a box with a photo of her grandmother, and buried it in her garden while reciting Psalm 23 and thanking her grandmother for her love, but releasing her grandmother's financial limitations. Within 2 weeks, Rebecca received an unexpected tax refund of $8,000. Within 2 months, she was offered a partnership position at her firm with a substantial salary increase. Within 6 months, her financial life had stabilized in a way it never had before. The curse was not from your grandmother, Rabbi Goldstein told her. Your grandmother loved you, but her pain had imprinted on the watch. You were not rejecting your grandmother. You were releasing her pain so both of you could be free. This is what most people do not understand. Accepting a cursed gift does not honor the giver. It perpetuates the curse for both parties. True love is not receiving everything someone gives you. True love is having the wisdom to discern what carries blessing and what carries curse, and the courage to release what harms even when it comes from someone you love. Answer this question in the comments, and be honest with yourself. What gift have I received that might be blocking my prosperity? Think carefully. Is there something you received that coincides with when your financial struggles intensified? Is there an object in your home from a person who was chronically unhappy or financially struggling? Identifying it is the first step to freedom. Rabbi Goldstein told me another story about a businessman named David, who had given his son a set of German kitchen knives for his wedding, not knowing the prohibition. Within a year, his son's marriage was in crisis, and his son's business was failing. When David learned about the spiritual implications of giving knives, he was devastated. He went to his son, confessed his ignorance, and asked his son to give him a coin for the knives, transforming the gift into a purchase retroactively. His son thought it was strange, but agreed. David then took the knives, buried them, and gave his son a new gift, a set of wine glasses with a blessing spoken over them. Within 3 months, his son's marriage began to heal, and his business took an unexpected turn toward profitability. The power of correction, Rabbi Goldstein said, is as great as the power of curse, maybe greater. Because correction demonstrates humility, repentance, desire for the other person's welfare above your own ego. These qualities activate divine mercy, which can override even severe spiritual blockages. This is the heart of what I want you to understand. You are not a victim of curses, you are knowingly activated. You have power to break them. You have authority to reverse them. The moment you gain knowledge, you gain the ability to apply that knowledge for freedom. Ignorance perpetuates bondage. Knowledge creates the opportunity for liberation. But knowledge alone is not enough. You must act on what you now know. If what you are learning tonight is stirring something in your spirit, if you sense that these ancient truths hold keys to financial breakthrough you have been seeking, then I want to tell you about the Jewish Wisdom eBook. This resource goes far beyond what we can cover in one teaching. It contains detailed chapters on the spiritual laws of prosperity, the Hebrew prayers that activate blessing, the Kabbalistic understanding of wealth consciousness, and practical applications of biblical principles to modern financial challenges. The link is in the description and in the first pinned comment. Consider it your comprehensive guide to aligning with the ancient pathways of abundance. We have journeyed together into hidden chambers of knowledge that most people never encounter in their entire lives. You now understand what Rabbi Goldstein taught me, that gifts are not neutral. They are spiritual transactions that carry consequences far beyond the moment of exchange. You now know the 6 forbidden gifts and why they attract poverty and block blessings. You now possess the antidotes, the corrections, the Hebrew prayers that break curses and restore prosperity. The question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Rabbi Goldstein told me something on my last visit to his home that I will never forget. He said, "The difference between those who prosper and those who struggle is not intelligence or opportunity or even hard work. It is alignment with spiritual law. God has designed a universe that operates according to specific principles. Those who align with those principles experience flow. Those who violate those principles experience friction. Most people violate these principles unknowingly, innocently, and then they blame God when life is hard. But God is not the problem. Ignorance of His laws is the problem. You are no longer ignorant. You now know that the gifts you give and receive carry spiritual frequencies that shape your financial reality. You know that sharp objects sever connection and prosperity. You know that empty wallets program lacked. You know that shoes enable walking away from blessing. You know that handkerchiefs carry sorrow. You know that clocks bind you to limitation. You know that used items from struggling people transfer their struggle. And most importantly, you know that all of these curses can be broken, reversed, neutralized through the remedies I have shared. But knowledge creates responsibility. You cannot unknow what you now know. You cannot claim ignorance anymore. Every gift you give from this moment forward is a choice. Will you activate blessing or curse? Will you align with spiritual law or violate it? Will you be conscious of the invisible forces you set in motion or unconscious? The choice is yours, but the consequences are real. Let me be direct with you about what happens next. Some of you will take this knowledge seriously. You will examine your homes for cursed gifts. You will perform the cleansing rituals. You will change your gift-giving habits. You will speak the Hebrew blessings. You will become conscious participants in the spiritual dynamics of prosperity. And within weeks or months, you will notice shifts: unexpected income, resolved financial problems, new opportunities, restored peace about money. You will know that the ancient wisdom works because you will experience the fruit of alignment. But others will hear this teaching and do nothing. You will find it interesting but not compelling enough to act upon. You will intend to examine your gifts later but never get around to it. You will mean to cleanse that watch or those knives but forget. And your financial situation will remain exactly as it is, because information without application produces no transformation. I cannot choose for you. I can only provide the knowledge and pray you have the wisdom to apply it. Rabbi Goldstein taught me that there are 3 levels of students. The first level hears wisdom and immediately acts. The second level hears wisdom and eventually acts after procrastinating. The third level hears wisdom and never acts. The first level experiences breakthrough quickly. The second level experiences breakthrough slowly. The third level experiences no breakthrough at all, and often blames the teacher or the teaching rather than acknowledging their own inaction. Which level will you be? Here is my final charge to you. Within the next 24 hours, walk through your home and identify any forbidden gifts. Make a list. For each one, decide whether you will cleanse it, return it, or bury it. Then take action. Do not wait. Do not delay. The longer a cursed object remains in your space, the deeper its negative frequency embeds in your life. Immediate action demonstrates to the spiritual realm that you are serious about alignment, and heaven responds to seriousness. If you have given forbidden gifts to others, reach out to them if the relationship permits. Explain what you learned. Ask them to give you a coin in return. Transform the curse into a neutral transaction. If you cannot reach them, give tzedakah in their honor and pray for their prosperity. Your action breaks the curse you unknowingly activated, and heaven credits you for the correction. Going forward, become the kind of gift giver who activates blessing wherever you go. Give books of wisdom to increase knowledge. Give sweet foods to make life sweet. Give candles to bring light. Give living plants to encourage growth. Give money in multiples of 18 to activate life force. And with every gift, speak a blessing out loud if possible, silently if necessary. Let your gifts be channels of divine prosperity, not vehicles of poverty. The Talmud teaches, who is wealthy? One who is satisfied with their portion. But satisfaction does not mean settling for less than God intends. It means recognizing that prosperity flows when you align with divine order, and blockage occurs when you violate it. You have been given the map. You have been shown the obstacles. You have been equipped with the tools to clear the path. Now you must walk the path. May the Lord bless you with eyes to see the spiritual dimension of every transaction. May He give you wisdom to discern blessing from curse. May He grant you the courage to release what harms even when it comes from those you love. May He open the floodgates of heaven over your finances as you align with His ancient laws. May every gift you give activate prosperity in the receiver. May every gift you receive carry only blessing into your life. May your home be cleansed of every poverty-attracting object. May your consciousness be elevated to the frequency of divine abundance. Begin today. Walk your home, identify, cleanse, release, correct, bless, and watch what heaven does when you take seriously the invisible laws that govern visible prosperity. The rabbis have protected this wisdom for generations. Now it has come to you. Do not let it pass through you without transformation. Let it take root. Let it produce fruit. Let it change your financial reality from this day forward.